the origin of low self-esteem and what you can do about it. I believe you're watching this because you have an idea of what low self-esteem is, and you certainly can relate to it. You perhaps know that feeling when you browse through your social media feed and then you see a friend with some new thing they've bought or some new vacation they have taken, and then you suddenly feel like your life is not moving forward. Or that basic feeling that you're not good enough or you don't measure up, people like you cannot do anything great, or the good things in life are not meant for someone like you. Whatsoever the pattern of low self-esteem that you have experienced, we certainly can agree that low self-esteem is thinking very little about yourself, feeling you can't do good things or great things or anything at all, feeling that you're not good enough or you need to do some certain things to measure up. And that's why many times people go after money, they pursue after women, they pursue after job positions and titles so they can fill in the gap of their low self-esteem. But the sad news is these things cannot solve the problem. But in this video, I hope that we explore what could really be the origin of low self-esteem and what you can do to actually get yourself to discover your self-esteem and your self-worth and your self-concept so you can finally express the fullness of yourself. I believe we are all born with self-esteem. It's not low, nor is it high. We are just born with self-esteem. Think of it this way: a newborn baby is born and your self-esteem tank is about 100%. So babies generally don't have a low self-esteem. So what happens then that when we grow up, we suddenly realize that we have a low self-esteem or we encounter a low self-esteem is what happens from the moment we are born to when we grow up. Our environment, the experiences that we have, and the media we are exposed to. I'm very sure babies don't have a low self-esteem because when you look at their behavior, one, people with a good self-esteem own up to whatsoever they want and they pursue after it. I've never seen a baby feel hungry and behave that they won't cry or demand their food, perhaps because their mom is sleeping or is cooking or anything. Their good and intact self-esteem makes them feel important, and so it doesn't really matter what you're doing. When they feel hungry, they open their mouths and start shouting. They don't negotiate with you. They don't care whatsoever is the issue. They want their food. Whatsoever they want, they ask for it. And that is a sense of importance, a sense that their opinion counts. And this is what is lacking when we grow up. Our parents may not be aware of this, and if you're a parent, you probably want to pay serious attention to this, but it's from our parents that we begin to lose a great portion of our self-esteem, or we can actually retain a good portion of it, because when the baby starts getting to 2 years old, where they can reason, when they are hungry and then they come and say, "Hey mommy, I want to eat," and the mother will say, "Can't you see I'm doing this? Can't you see I'm doing that? You have to wait for me." And when that happens 1, 2, 3 times, when the child needs something or wants something, they will not feel that they are important enough to interrupt their parents. So they'll probably just sit quiet and wait until it's time that their parents choose to serve them. But the sad thing is, we later on carry this into life, where we feel it's others that have to answer the questions in class, it's others that have the ideas, it's others that can do the great things. We are just meant to be here at the back and do nothing. Well, you leave the home, then you go to class, and we're in a society of competition. So your school already starts grading you, not in comparison to your full potential, like this is what you have done, but this is what you could do, but in comparison to the person sitting right next to you. So what happens if they are performing better than you? You start feeling like you're not good enough, or you're not good in math, or you're not good in drawing, and your self-esteem tank continues to deplete itself further. And one thing we must realize that this goes both ways, because even the child that is doing good in school and they develop their self-esteem from the fact that they can outsmart their mates, they will have issues the day there is no one for them to outsmart. So it's not just the one who isn't doing well who has a low self-esteem. The one who is doing well and getting their self-esteem from the fact that they are doing well will eventually develop a low self-esteem when there is no one for them to outsmart. And that's a typical thing when they leave school and face the real world. And lastly, the media we are exposed to. The media gives us the impression of what a beautiful woman is or of what a handsome man is. But the truth is, there is no definition for beauty. You just recognize it when you see it, but you can't define it. And that's why they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So you are beautiful in your own way. It's not a consolation statement, but that's the simple fact. Because before, models were these slim, thin people that would wear these dresses and move. You could think a wind could actually blow them away. And so people who were what they call plus size felt they couldn't do modeling. And somehow when the media portrays that to them, if you're plus size, you start thinking perhaps you're not beautiful enough. But recently I've seen that there are now plus size models where it's a modeling competition only for people who are plus size. Now, how is that for uniqueness? There is no definition or standard for beauty. Everything created was good and perfect and beautiful. So I believe you already know what low self-esteem is. Now, there are several ways you could raise your self-esteem, but there is only one guaranteed way for it to last. People do try to raise your self-esteem by accumulating wealth because they think they can finally, if you're in Africa, speak loud in the family meeting because they have money. But then what happens after the family meeting? You still have your low self-esteem. People feel by a job title or an achievement or anything. But all these accolades and titles and wealth and relationships and position can be taken from you. You can lose them. And that's why building your self-esteem on them is building on a sandy soil. So what do you do about your low self-esteem? It's simple. Your worth, your value, your importance, your uniqueness, all of those are buried in your purpose. One simple statement: discover your purpose. In other words, discover what you are here on earth to do. Discover what makes you important, because your purpose is here to solve a problem. Once you understand that purpose, then you realize that you have worth, you have value, you have self-esteem from that purpose, because people don't necessarily have to like you. But one thing is sure is that we need what you're carrying, and that's what makes you important. That's what makes you valuable. We can't ignore you. Let's take a funny example like the toilet. People don't generally spend much time in the toilet. Keyword generally. At least compared to how much time they spend in your sitting room or before their TV. Does that mean your toilet develops low self-esteem because you don't spend much time in it? No. One thing it knows is that you need it. You can eat all your chicken, you can eat all your fish, you cannot even have time for that toilet. But one thing it knows is that when the right time comes for number 2, you will choose the toilet over the best and gold decorated sitting room. At least if you're a civilized person. So you don't clean your toilet because you love it. Not necessarily. You clean it because you need it. So understand that you were born for a purpose, and that's where your self-esteem will come from. People will not necessarily have to love you, but they will deal, respect, value, appreciate you because they need what you carry. You don't love dentists, but you need the services they can render to you. You don't necessarily love mango trees, but you need the delicious fruits they have to offer you. So commit yourself to leave all the fleeting sources of self-esteem and rediscover your worth, your value, your importance, your concept in what you were created to do, because that's what makes you special, unique, and irreplaceable. Now, before we go, that's it about developing a healthy self-esteem. But you can actually discover your purpose. Like, there are many people who know what they're to do, and then they tell me they still have difficulty feeling that they are worthy to even do what they have discovered that they were to do. Now, this is at the level of negative programming. Remember, your environment plays an important role in depleting your self-esteem. The different types of programming that were put in your head. If you grew up in an environment where they reminded you that you're not good enough, you cannot amount to anything, you're the black sheep of the family, and all those things, if these programmings are still in your head, they are going to limit you from accessing the fullness of your self-esteem in your purpose. So what you need to do is to take time, sit quietly, meditate, and identify these negative programmings in your head and begin to replace them with the right programming, one after the other. They may have told you you cannot do anything right, but you have to identify that and replace it with the fact that you have all the help you need to make the best choices in the world, because your creator is there to back you up. They may have programmed you with the idea that you cannot achieve anything great, but the truth is that you're right here watching this is that you beat probably 499,999,000 others to be here. Now I think that's achieving greatness. So there is a lot more that you can do. So that's it in this